All right, so this is case number CR 2406068, State of Nevada versus Shawn Patrick Ashdown. Mr. Ashdown's present, represented by Mr. Penney, state's represented by Ms. Brown. Parole and probation is present, and this is the time and place set for arraignment. Are the parties prepared to go forward?
State's prepared.
Ready, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Ashdown, will you please stand? So the case is captioned State of Nevada versus Shawn Patrick Ashdown. Is that your true and correct name?
Yes.
All right. All proceedings will go forward under that name. And what I'm going to do is summarize the allegations contained in the amended criminal information that was filed on June 12th. And then with the assistance of your attorney, you can offer your plea. They charge you with abuse, neglect, or endangerment of a child. And they say that you did on or about the period of January 20th, 2024 through February 22 of 24, that while you were a person responsible for the safety or welfare of initials PRA, a child less than 18 years of age, that you willfully and unlawfully permitted or allowed PRA to suffer unjustifiable physical pain or mental suffering as a result of abuse or neglect, or to be placed in a situation where PRA may suffer physical pain or mental suffering as a result of abuse or neglect, to wit, by you fleeing White Pine County with PRA, living with her in a tent in the wilderness of Beaver County, Utah, in sub-freezing temperatures, and thereby removing PRA from the state of Nevada and violating court-ordered visitation established by the court. And so with respect to that charge, what is your plea?
Guilty.
Guilty. The record would so reflect. You may be seated then. Now, Mr. Ashdown, in order to accept your guilty plea, I need to determine that you offer this plea voluntarily, knowledgeably, intelligently, that there's a factual basis, and you understand the consequences of your plea. So I have to ask you a series of questions. And the first one is, what's your date of birth and your current age?
51.
All right. And what's your residence address?
I'm not sure the address, but I live in McGill.
You live in McGill?
Yes.
All right. And do you have a contact phone number?
Yes, I do.
What's the number?
It's on, I don't know it right offhand.
You don't know it?
No.
Okay, because you'll need to make sure it gets to your lawyer and gets to parole and probation so they can contact you, okay? All right. So then what's the highest level of education you have?
9th grade.
Can you read and write?
Say that again?
Can you read and write?
Yes, sir.
All right. So were you able to review all the paperwork in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right. And are you currently employed?
No.
And are you a veteran of any military service?
No.
And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
All right. Now you're here with Mr. Penney, who was appointed to represent you. Do you feel like you've met with him or talked to him enough times prior to coming to court today?
Yes.
And in talking with him, did he explain to you your constitutional rights in this case?
Yes.
Now, did he explain this charge that you're pleading guilty to and the elements of it that the state would have to prove to convict you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you guys talk about any potential defenses you might have? Like if you're going to try plead not guilty and try to fight the charge, you guys talk about that?
No.
All right. You feel like that's something you need to talk to your attorney about?
No.
All right. Now there's a plea agreement here. You signed. Did you read this before you signed it?
Yes.
And did Mr. Penney go over it with you?
Yes, he did.
Now, if you had any questions about the deal that you were making with the state, was he available to answer those questions?
Yes.
Okay. You have any questions now about the deal?
No.
All right. As we go through this process, if you have any questions, make sure you ask me, okay? So overall, would you say you're satisfied with the job that Mr. Penney's done for you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you currently under the care of any doctors or physicians?
No.
Suffering from any kind of physical or mental problems?
No.
Taking any prescription drugs?
No.
So your physical health is good?
Yes.
And your mind is clear?
Yes.
All right, great. So we'll take a look at the plea agreement here. And it tells you on page 2 at line 21 that as a consequence of your plea of guilty, you may be imprisoned in the White Pine County Jail for a period of not more than 364 days and fined not more than $2,000 or both. So the maximum sentence could be 364 days in the county jail and a $2,000 fine. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, in exchange for your plea of guilty, the state's going to do certain things for you, and that's detailed at the bottom of page 1 of the plea agreement. And it tells you that line 27, in exchange for your plea, the state will dismiss any remaining charges and not file any additional charges related to the facts now known by the DA's office. You understand that you will need to obtain a psychological evaluation and present other than a high risk to reoffend to be eligible for probation. If you qualify for probation, the state will not oppose that request, and then both sides are free to argue at the time of sentencing. So that's the rest of the deal there. Do you understand all that? All right, and just to make sure we have clear language on what that's talking about. What happens is you'll have a psychological evaluation. If you don't have it, then you're not entitled to probation. All right. If you do have it, then the person has to make a finding that you're not a high risk to reoffend. Okay. Any questions about that?
No.
All right. All right, so what's going to happen after this hearing is you're going to fill out a form for the Department of Parole and Probation with information on your background and your history. They'll interview you on that so they can prepare a report with all that information. So at the time of sentencing, we'll have their report, we'll have an argument by your attorney, we'll have an argument by the state, you can make a statement, and the court will consider all those things, but the court's free to reject them all and impose whatever sentence it feels is appropriate. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, by pleading guilty, you give up a series of trial rights we need to talk about. And the first one is what's called your right to a speedy trial. If you pled not guilty, you'd be entitled to a jury trial within 60 days of today's date. But since you're pleading guilty, there's not going to be a trial at all, and you're waiving your right to a speedy trial. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're also giving up what's called the right of confrontation. If you went to trial, in order to prove these charges against you, the state would have to bring witnesses forward who would testify against you under oath in open court, subject to the cross-examination of your attorney. But that right of confrontation is also being given up because there's not going to be a trial. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're also giving up your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Now, under the Fifth Amendment, no one can force you to make any statement or say anything against your interest. And if you went to trial, you could testify there if you wanted to, but even there, no one could force you to say anything. However, by pleading guilty in open court, you're confessing to the crime and you're waiving your Fifth Amendment rights. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're also giving up the right to appeal defects that might exist in the case at this point. I don't know if there's any defects or problems in the way this case was handled, but if there were, you're waiving your right to appeal those. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're also giving up the right to well, let's see, another right you're giving up is the right to have witnesses come forward and testify on your behalf at trial. And again, that's lost simply because there isn't going to be a trial. Do you understand?
Yes.
Most importantly, what you're giving up is the right to have Mr. Penney represent you throughout the entire course of the trial. He would advocate your position, protect your rights and interests, all free of charge to you. Now, he'll stay with you through the sentencing phase, but he's not going to represent you at a trial because there isn't going to be one. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right. And Mr. Ashdown, has anyone coerced you, intimidated you, or placed you in fear to make you plead guilty?
No.
Anybody offer you any promises or secret deals not contained in the paperwork to get you to plead guilty?
No.
You think that pleading guilty is in your best interest?
Yes.
And are you pleading guilty because in truth, in fact, you are guilty?
Say it again.
Are you guilty?
Yes.
All right. So I have a factual basis here. Will you please stand up? Tell me in your own words, what happened here? What'd you do with respect to PRA? What happened?
Why I did it?
Yeah, what'd you do? What did you do?
I took my daughter across state lines.
Okay, and then is this right? You were out camping in cold temperatures out?
Well, there were some things that led up to why I was camping out there.
Okay,
I wasn't supposed to be in the cold, but
all right. And then this was in violation of a court order visitation?
yes.
All right. So then factually, this is all true and accurate?
Yes.
Okay, you can be seated then. All right, we're almost the end of this hearing. Here's the deal. You can still reject this deal, get out of the plea agreement. We'd set the matter either for a preliminary hearing or a jury trial. If you choose that route, the state would be out of the deal as well. They can file whatever other charges they might have. But anything you've said here today could not be used against you, and you'll get all those rights back, all the ones you're waiving. Now, that's one option. The other option is to stay with your guilty plea and accept the benefits and the burdens that are contained in that deal. What would you like to do?
Except
Stay with the guilty plea?
Yeah.
All right, the record would so reflect. Good cause appearing. The court finds that you've offered your plea voluntarily, knowledgeably, intelligently. There is a factual basis, and you understand the consequences of your plea. So the court orders the clerk of the court to formally notify the Department of Parole and Probation to do their usual and customary investigation. And I don't know, I don't know the rule. Do you guys have to apply for DIDS funds to get the evaluation paid for? There's something that has to happen. I don't know either. So you'll have to check on that,
Yeah,
because either you'll have to either apply for DIDs. It used to apply to me, because it's a gross, you guys don't pay. So they'll have to get it from DIDs, I think.
It means you need some more time between now and Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
How about October 7th? I'm in the middle of a jury trial, but Judge Fairman isn't. That work?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we do the 14th, Your Honor?
14th, yeah, I'm still in the trial, but that works for Judge Fairman.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll set this for October 14th at 9:30. Okay, so Mr. Ashdown, make sure you stay in contact with your attorney, because he's got to work out the details to get that evaluation done. Okay, anything else, Ms. Brown?
No.
Mr. Penney?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so you'll be excused from the courtroom. Go to our next case.